One of my biggest obstacles in creating traditional figurative paintings is in inventing my own references to capture the story that I want to tell. And I think I discovered a tool that's been really helpful for me. I've been commissioned to make a series of paintings that involves many figures within historical and biblical context. I started with an initial sketch and then painted in some values and lighting to help me see it in its 3 dimensions. But once I got here, I knew that I needed to refine my figures a bit more. But I wasn't ready to start taking photos of models like I normally would. I still want to stay fluid as I map out this composition. So I found myself looking at 3D software for posing figures, and I ended up building this little scene through Pose My Art. And then I dropped it into my composition to construct this figure, but I still found it quite difficult to get the shapes right. The models are kind of robotic and don't really simulate the human figure very well. I did the same for this one, which was helpful, but you can see as I drew clothes on top of him, it kind of flattened out again into a cartoonish structure. So I was sharing this with one of the artists that I'm coaching, and he recommended another app called Magic Poser. So I recreated this kneeling figure, transferred it into my scene, and once I had this refined structure in place, it was so much easier to make adjustments. I could strengthen his brow a little bit, sharpen his nose, change his hair, and better envision how this cloak would drape over his back. And this is so exciting to me because it's breaking a barrier for me to easily construct the stories I want to tell and have intimate control over the entire reference. But I'm also not limited by it either. Once there's enough structure and realism in place, it's easier to invent from imagination. Normally at this stage of a composition, I would go straight into taking photos of people, simulating the physics, dressing them up in clothing, and then I would drop them into the scene using Photoshop and adjust the colors and values and things like that. And there's a lot of advantages to that, but it does introduce more constraints, like who your model is, the quality of the costume you can get your hands on. You've got to get the lighting right and the right perspective, and the end result is a flat 2D image. If you discover you need to change the angle or change the pose, you might have to reschedule the entire shoot. So I'm finding that 3D software for figures is a really nice bridge between the initial composition and the final reference, where you have a scene that you can construct, you can manipulate the light, and you can change poses, you can change the angle. I'll probably need to take photographs of specific faces, but for a lot of these other objects, I don't know that I really need that. So this is where the composition is now. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but I'm excited to get into all these figures with this new breakthrough. And I might even construct the entire scene in here first before moving back to my composition. So that's really all I wanted to share. It's just that there's this tool out here that's really good, really helpful. I'm not being sponsored by them, but you guys got to know about it. It doesn't have everything, which kind of forces you to still be inventive and still work on your drawing skill and very much make it your piece of art. You can see here as I'm working on this helmet, the angle of the helmet is not perfect, but because I have this realistic structure of a head, it's so much easier for me to envision how this helmet would be placed on his head. And so I can make all those adjustments more easily. Now, what you don't see here is a lot of research that's gone into these compositions, looking at the Bible, history, archaeology, early church history, clothing, architecture. It's been a lot. Trying to make these paintings as historically accurate as possible has added a new level of difficulty to my work. And if that's interesting to you, if you want to hear more about these compositions and the stories behind them, that would be good for me to know. But I'll definitely keep you updated as these things progress. All right, that's it. Have a beautiful day.